Welcome back. Today we're digging into a chapter of the Bible that really forces everyone to make a choice.
So, what happens when one man's actions end up dividing a nation, his enemies, and even his own family? That's exactly what we're diving into today with Mark chapter 3. This is a real turning point where the tension just skyrockets. Jesus' ministry is taking off, but so is the opposition, and he's forcing everyone, from the religious elite to his own mother, to decide where they stand.
All right, so the story kicks off in a synagogue on the Sabbath, the Jewish day of rest. But this is anything but a peaceful service. What's about to happen? A single act of compassion is going to draw a major line in the sand.
And you've got to see the wild contrast in perspective here. Jesus walks in and sees a human being who's suffering, someone he can help. But his critics, the Pharisees, these are the super strict religious rule keepers. They look at the exact same guy and all they see is bait. Yeah, they're not there to worship. They're there to set a trap. See, the thing is, according to their own traditions, which they'd added to the law, even doing something good like healing was considered work, and that was a huge no-no on the Sabbath. They knew Jesus was compassionate, so they were just waiting, watching his every move, hoping he'd take the bait so they could pounce.
But Jesus doesn't back down. Not at all. Instead of avoiding the whole thing, he brings it right out into the open. He calls the man up to the front and asks this absolutely brilliant question. He basically puts them on the spot, forcing them to face just how ridiculous their rules are. I mean, seriously, how could it ever be the wrong day to do something good?
And their reaction, or lack of one, says it all. They're totally trapped by his logic. They have no answer. And that silence, it just screams volumes about where their hearts are at. So Jesus, looking at them with this mix of grief and anger at their stubbornness, just goes ahead and heals the man right there in front of everyone.
And boom, that one act of healing splits everyone. It's like a flashpoint. The reaction is immediate and it is extreme on both sides.
So check this out. The first group, the religious leaders and the political powers that be, these guys were normally enemies. They couldn't stand each other. But now, they suddenly find common ground. Their shared hatred for Jesus is so intense that they form this bizarre, deadly alliance with one single purpose: to get rid of him. But then you have the regular people, and their reaction is the complete opposite. I mean, word is spreading like wildfire about his miracles, and you have these massive crowds. We're talking thousands of people from all over just flocking to him. They're not plotting, they're pressing in on him, desperate, just hoping to get close enough for a healing touch.
Okay, so let's just pause here for a second and think about this situation. It's a huge turning point, right? His life is now officially in danger, but at the same time, his popularity is just exploding. What's his move? He doesn't run. He doesn't try to start some kind of political rebellion. Nope, he does something way more strategic, something foundational for the future. So, after spending a whole night in prayer, he heads up a mountain and he appoints 12 men, the apostles. And their job description is pretty interesting. Step 1, just be with him. Learn from him, like apprentices, soaking everything in. Then, they'd be sent out to do what he was doing, preach his message and demonstrate God's power. This was his succession plan, his strategy to make sure the movement would carry on.
So just as he's building this core team, the opposition ratchets up another notch. And this time, it gets really personal, coming from two completely new directions.
First, can you believe it? It's his own family. You can kind of see that perspective, right? The crowds, the danger, the controversy, it's all getting out of hand. They hear about all this chaos and they actually conclude he's lost his mind. They literally show up to take him into custody. And if that wasn't enough, at the very same time, the top Bible experts from Jerusalem show up with an even darker accusation. They say he's not just crazy, he's possessed, that his power comes directly from Satan. And Jesus' response is just perfect. He doesn't fly off the handle, he calmly dismantles their argument with simple, common-sense logic. He tells them a little story, a parable, basically asking, how can Satan cast out Satan? A kingdom divided against itself can't stand. Why would the devil fight his own forces? It makes zero sense. But that accusation they made, that the work of God's Spirit was actually the work of the devil, is so serious that it prompts Jesus to give one of the most sobering warnings you'll find anywhere in the Bible. And it's one that gets misunderstood a lot.
Now listen to how he starts this. It's with this incredible, wide-open promise of grace. He says, "Truly I say to you, all sins will be forgiven." All of them. But then he draws a line in the sand. There is one exception: blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. He says that sin is eternal and can never be forgiven.
So, okay, What in the world is this unforgivable sin? The context here is everything. This isn't about having a moment of doubt or saying something you regret. It's what those religious leaders were doing, seeing the clear, undeniable power of God's Spirit right in front of their eyes in Jesus, and then willfully, deliberately calling it evil. It's a settled state of heart, a final rejection so complete that you're calling good evil. It's a heart that's become so hard it can't be reached anymore.
And this is a really important point, so I want to make sure it lands. This warning isn't for the person who stumbles or has doubts. In fact, there's a good rule of thumb here. If you're worried you might have committed the unforgivable sin, you haven't. The very fact that you're concerned about it shows that the Spirit is still working in your heart. Someone whose heart was truly that hard simply wouldn't care.
The chapter then ends by coming full circle right back to this theme of family. And in doing so, it draws one last, profound line, but also gives this beautiful, open invitation to everyone.
So remember his biological family? The ones who thought he'd lost it? Well, they're standing outside the house where he's teaching, and it's packed. They send a message in asking for him, and Jesus uses this interruption to make a powerful, totally life-altering statement about what family really is.
He just looks around at all the people sitting there hanging on his every word, and he asks this question, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And you can feel the shift. He's about to redefine family, moving it away from just bloodlines to something much, much deeper.
And then he delivers the punchline. He points to the people around him and says, "Here they are. For whoever does the will of God, he is my brother and sister and mother." Wow, that just redefines everything. He's saying that true family, his family, isn't determined by blood. It's built on a spiritual bond, a shared commitment to following God. And the best part? That creates a new eternal family that anyone from anywhere can join.
So you see, this whole chapter is about drawing lines. It forces a choice. It's compassion versus rigid rules. It's belief versus plotting and rejection. It's earthly family versus an eternal one. And after all is said and done, it kind of leaves us with that same choice, with a final question to reflect on for ourselves.